Okay, and welcome to Education Robotics and Computational Thinking for Young Learners. I like to joke that my son, who's 7, says, "Dad, are you an expert?" And I tell him, "No, uh, not, definitely not." I said, "But if there's anything that I guess I've studied a lot and read a lot about and written a book on it, I guess it's educational robotics." So what is that? What is educational robotics? I'm going to acronize that as ER. You do know what NASA stands for, right? The National Association of Silly Acronyms. So we're going to go ahead and use acronyms throughout the session today. And CT, computational thinking. I had the pleasure to be one of the speakers at a panel presentation at ISTE last year in Philadelphia. And it was on the Cyber Robotics Coding Competition. And ISTE is one of the organizations that is really doing a good job of helping to identify, like frame out and define computational thinking. It's an evolving philosophy in early education. So I'm going to share a little history for you about these two topics, and we're going to define them as well, talk about why to teach them. And I have my favorite examples, and I have one subject that I can video and share all I want. I don't need his permission because he's my son. So we'll get to watch a couple of Ian videos in the end. But I would love to have this be interactive. So please take a stab at what do you think educational robotics is? How would you define it? What does it mean to you?
It's when you use the robotics as a tool to teach skills or way of thinking.
Absolutely, yeah. Which skills do you think we can achieve with educational robotics in the classroom?
It can be like from general subjects like math and physics and science, so on, and can be also coding and graphic design and things like that, like vector design and so on.
Yeah, so we can shorten it by saying science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or STEM. I will get on my small soapbox here and just say I'm not a big fan of adding lots of extra letters into STEM. I believe STEM itself is an educational philosophy. It's a way of teaching. It's a form of problem-based learning, and I don't think I need to put an A in it to use it to teach art. I can use STEM in an art project. In fact, it inherently is used in material sciences, and mathematics is almost always involved in sculptures and stuff. In any event, yeah, we can teach STEM with it. So it's utilizing these educational platforms that are easy to manipulate and work with. That's kind of a key thing. And if I asked you, I should have asked you to identify, example of a platform. And I don't know how many of you would have thought about Lego first, but that's the first thing that comes to my mind. And what's really cool about that is that Lego has a major role to play in the evolution of this entire field. So how about computational thinking? Who teaches computational thinking, or who applies this in their classroom? Who feels that they are comfortable with this or would like to try to define it? That's why we came to this session. So this is not a lockdown definition. There is not one simple, Merriam-Webster, everyone's accepted this as the word of STEM. But this is the briefest explanation. It combines critical thinking skills and computing to find solutions to problems. So I like that. That's ISTE's kind of one-liner. So there's been a number of authors and researchers who are working on applying this in educational environments. Carnegie Mellon University is doing a lot of work with this specifically. And so Jeanette Wing defines it as a way of solving problems, designing systems, and understanding human behavior by drawing on the concepts of fundamentals of computer science. So little harder to understand there, but it definitely expands it a little broader than just using a computer to solve a problem. But I think it adds particularly that systems component. I think systems thinking and systems analysis is kind of an essential piece to it. So Cooney, Snyder, and Wing say that it's the thought process involved in formulating problems and their solutions, so that the solutions are represented in a form that can be effectively carried out by an information processing agent. That sure is a wordy way of saying a computer. I'd rather just say a computer can solve it. Because inherent to that, we're talking about a device that, is a combination of hardware and software that can, analyze data and if programmed properly, can help you solve your challenge that you're facing. But this is both simpler and a little more complex. But one of the best resources I have found for learning about computational thinking is, in fact, a Google education site. So it's computational thinking course with google.com. And they do a really nice job. If you look online, you'll find a lot of folks refer to this as one of their sources in talking about it. But here, they break it down into some additional characteristics. So to support problem solving across all disciplines. So they're saying it's a multidisciplinary technique or approach that should include humanities, math, science, and that ideally, when implementing computational thinking correctly, it should integrate life inside and outside the classroom and across the curriculum. I think we'd like to believe that all educational philosophies, when applied correctly, would work across the curriculum. I myself am a constructivist. I was a constructivist, and now I really consider myself a constructionist, which we can talk about that. So this model is the expanded ISTE model, and it identifies 4 aspects, or they call them elements, of computational thinking. So when you're facing a problem, so maybe the problem is I'm going on vacation, and which I am on Friday, and who's gonna feed my cat? So try to break it down, like, well, the cat needs food and water, and the cat's gonna need to be fed so many times a day or so much food, etc. So you try to break it down into how long am I gonna be gone and stuff, and then maybe, like, in terms of pattern recognition, is there a time frame, or is there some other way I can measure how often to feed my cat? Is it every hour, every half hour? What volume am I feeding it? Then I'm going to write an algorithm to solve that problem. So I'm going to write some sort of formula, some sort of computer code maybe, that's going to tell my device of some sort that's how to do it. But I probably should start with the abstraction though, because first what you want to do is try to imagine how can I solve this problem using an information processing agent, a computer. In this case, I might say, well, it also has to involve some device like a robot. So break it down, the data, the processes and problems. Look for patterns or trends, and that's going to be key to writing your code. Identify the general principles, and develop a step-by-step instructions. We might also call that our pseudocode. So, like, 1, we want the every morning the cat to get so much food, and 2, if the cat's hungry in between, you can get snacks by maybe pressing a button. And 3, so if the cat presses the button 18 times, maybe we should stop it from eat all the food in one day. So you can write your algorithm to solve your problem there. So I'm gonna. Any questions so far?
Oh, good.
Okay. I kind of hate talking heads, but I guess that's what I am doing today. But so this guy, Simon Papier. How many are familiar with Simon Papier?
I am familiar, but I will not say exactly who is right now because I will mess it up. I read the whole book about makerspace and the constructivism and construction.
Yeah, the
Construct.
V and the N, yeah.
Yeah. So and it's the whole the difference between that, and they spoke about him a lot.
So Piaget. I mean, so if you have a degree in education or study education, invariably you've heard about Piaget. I think he's a pretty well-known uh, educational researcher and philosopher. And so he came up with constructivism. For most of my adult life, since I've been educated classically, I really felt that I was a hands-on learner, and then I refined that. I was an experiential educator for a long time. That's how I felt. I best described me. Um, and then during my undergrad, I decided that really I was a constructivist. That I fundamentally believe that you need to create your own learning. So when you went into a classroom, if a teacher just talked at you, I would walk out and I wouldn't have really absorbed anything. But if they gave me a challenge and I had to solve that problem and I constructed something, and while doing that, constructed my own understanding and comprehension, I walked away with a much richer experience and one that I remembered. So that's constructivism. So Papier left the U.S. and went over to Switzerland to study under Piaget, and he was there for I want to say 10 years, almost quite a while. And while there, he created a twist on constructivism. He returned and started the MIT Media Lab. So think about what's the most popular student coding language right now on the planet. What is taking the world by storm and is now on every platform for robotics. You can create little games with it. You can do tremendous things. When I say student coding, what comes to mind?
iPhone?
Scratch?
Scratch, yeah.
Scratch is wildly popular. That's created by the MIT Media Lab. They create some of the most innovative and impactful educational technologies in the world. And Papier formed the Media Lab. And while he was there, he kept refining his educational philosophy. And while doing so, he also worked on a computer language for students called Logo. I'm going to date myself now. I'm almost 48. And when I was in elementary school, we had Apple IIe computers. And they were just brand new. I got our first computer lab. It was a big deal in New Jersey. And computer class consisted of us going in, and on the green screen, if you remember this, and you had these single color monochromatic screens, and there was a little triangle up here when you launched. I think we did type something in to get Logo to come up, and then this triangle up here, and we had to write code. So they gave us some examples at first, like forward, so far, right, this angle, whatever, and so you'd write that, and make a square. Wow, okay, got it. Wasn't very complicated. You can learn repeats and loops and stuff, and okay, that's cool. And then they would give you a shape, and they'd say, now you make this shape. When the turtle moved, the triangle moved, it would lay a ground trace. And so you had to then write the code to try and match the shape. And so we learned the process of writing code and problem solving through this language. Interestingly, my son went to a laboratory school here at West Virginia University, and Dr. Bobby Warash was the principal at the time, the instructor. She's also an instructor, of early childhood learning, and also managed the lab. So your lab experience, like in chemistry, with early childhood, was to go to the lab school and work with kids. And I was talking to her about my research with elementary robotics platforms, and she said, "Oh my gosh!" And she pulled out this article, and that second photo down here, I think you can see my mouse moving. She's in this article. She's cited, and there's a picture of her using one of Papier's actual physical turtle robots coded in Logo. It had a big wire coming off of it, and the kids would program it to move and make the ground traces in a physical environment rather than just a virtual one. So if you thought about Lego robots, does anyone know what the name of the robotic platform is that Lego uses for Lego League? And it's their flagship robot for education. The name of the platform? Yeah, Ashley's got it, Mindstorms. And I'll tell you, when I first read, Mindstorms, Children's Computers and Powerful Ideas, I can actually go grab my book. I have it on my shelf right over here. But I was like, wait a second. That's the same name as the robot platform. How funny is that? And then I realized it's not funny. This is literally the genesis of the Education Robotics Initiative right here, is that Papier was contacted by Lego in order to collaborate with the Lego company organization. It's a family-owned company in Denmark, and to create the first educational robots. But there was a predecessor to the RCX, that yellow one. But that was the first commercially available one. So how many of you have used an RCX robot? You had your hand. I did. You had your hands on the very first really available educational robot, which was a fascinating partnership there between MIT and Lego, and they really laid the groundwork for this approach of educational robotics in classrooms. They came out with the NXT, which my son owns. In fact, our NXT is in the bathroom right now, effectively dispensing soap for us every time I wash my hands. The EV3 is still the current model that they have. I keep thinking there's an EV4, and I ask them, they go, no, nope. And even though they come out with new models pretty routinely, they still have not updated the EV3. In 2016, there was a WeDo 1.0 in there, by the way, but I did not like it. The WeDo 1.0 plugged in through a USB cord, so you had to be plugged into a laptop. And the software was finicky. Some file was always being corrupted. It was just annoying to work with. And it just wasn't intuitive for kids to use a mouse or a touchpad even when they're young learners. And I kept thinking, man, if this thing was wireless, Bluetooth, if it ran on a tablet, if it did this, it would be so much better. And lo and behold, the 2.0 came out, and I was one of the first people to buy this platform and start using it with kids. We invested heavily in this at the NASA facility. We now have 4 classroom kits of them that we loan out, and it's probably our most popular kit in all of our $2 million of kits that we loan out. And what's neat about it, they hit the nail on the head. It's a slam dunk. Even right now, with all their new platforms they have across any company, I still think that the curriculum that is provided with the WeDo 2.0, which is always evolving, makes it the easiest educational robotics platform to integrate into the elementary classroom. And by the way, I do not endorse any company. I'm not allowed to as a NASA employee, but I think that there is no contest from an educational standpoint that this platform really works easily. You can teach the science standards you have to teach, and while doing so, you inherently are teaching computational thinking, problem solving, coding, mathematics, and you're doing it through teaching science topics, which I just think is fantastic. They also came out with a brand new platform, Coding Express. Even though it came out in 2018, I didn't get my hands on it until last year, really. And we now bought our first classroom kit of them, which we're going to start loaning out to teachers. What's great about it is that this platform doesn't require any computer. It teaches the fundamentals of coding in a way that is completely physical manipulatives. So it's very neat. And the most recent platform they came out with is Spike Prime. It was supposed to be released in 2019, but actually it didn't release then. So I should have probably updated this slide. Spike Prime, people were afraid was going to be like the EV4, but really it sits right here between the WeDo 2.0 and the EV3. It's an in-between platform. It's more user-friendly than the EV3. It's got like a big smiley face. Actually, I have mine right here. I happen to have my WeDo kit right here. Oh, I got the cloak of invisibility going on with the the background. And then here is my Spike Prime, in case you hadn't seen it yet. I built a little robot here. So it's a little cuter. I need to turn off my. If I put it next to me, it's good. You can see it. So that it lights up this whole front screen is basically little LEDs. So you can create little face patterns and stuff. So it's more elementary in that sense than the EV3, which has small textual menus that you have to read. But it has advanced sensors. It has better motors. It has some really cool features to it. It is, by the way, legally allowed to be used for competitions in Lego League. So there's Spike Prime. So it's like a we do on steroids, or an elementary EV3. But I do think that there are dozens of platforms now. Spheros, for example, is very popular. The Vex platform is the fastest growing one in the world. So while Lego, I believe, does deserve credit for initiating the concept of education robotics, they no longer necessarily corner the market on this. And go backwards one step, constructionism. Since I label those two words, and I know at least one person's familiar with these, the C and the V, the N and the V, sorry. So constructivism is where students create their own knowledge. Constructionism takes it one step further and necessitates that the students must have some sort of physical demonstration of what they learn. They must present it. And to me, the perfect example of this is first Lego League. The students have a unique problem. They analyze the problem. They, try to conceptualize how they can build a robot to solve this problem. They write the code, they test it, they practice, and then they perform it. They go to a tournament, and they literally have to do it in front of an audience. And so the argument that Javier makes is that's when learning is the most rich and the most meaningful, is when students are forced, or they want to, demonstrate what they've learned. That's the big difference. So anyway, so there's his book. You can get it on various formats. I'd recommend looking through it. Now, it seems super dated, but the philosophies and concepts are the underpinnings of our modern platforms of education robotics. So they explore their own interests through technologies while investigating domain-specific content, learning and also exercising metacognitive problem-solving and reasoning skills. So why even bother teaching education robotics? So I thought the slide was going to not show you. I thought I was supposed to hide those bullet points. So whoops. Going back in time now, the Logo computer language itself had a lot of articles and research done on it, and so we can refer back to that. But young students, elementary students who utilized Logo, and that includes me, young Todd, develop better number sense, language skills, and visual memory. And I really think we talk now about spatial learning, and I think it was developing that sense as well. It's also been shown to increase cognitive and fine motor skills. And maybe this is just a function of the fact that these platforms aren't free, right? I mean, Spike Prime is, I don't know, it's hundreds. The EV3 is like 500, so they're not cheap. So you have to double kids up and sometimes triple kids up. When kids do Lego League or some other activity using a robot, they're working together on a team. And when you ask employers about the most valuable skills they hope students can learn, what sets this employee, as applicant apart from that applicant, who can communicate well, who can work with others, who has experience working on a team and collaboratively solving problems. And students who do education robotics do that inherently. And when exposed to STEM curriculum, students exhibit fewer gender-based stereotypes. And I like to say that we have a window as educators, and I hope you join me in this challenge, that when we are looking at the statistics of, an abundance of males in computer science, for example, or in certain areas of engineering, how do we overcome that? How do we increase the representation of females and other underrepresented groups in STEM fields? And the answer I believe is start earlier. When females in particular find themselves in, maybe middle and high school, gender stereotypes are pretty locked in. And I'm speaking from a non-female. So I believe everyone else in this room has a much better opinion than I do of this. And you could speak to it. But what I've observed is that we have parity with boys and girls, and often even more females on our early robotics teams, in stark contrast to our high school teams. By the time we get to high school, it seems to be a boys' sport. And we are fighting back against that right now in West Virginia. I'm working on a grant called Coverage, which was our big inaugural term was canceled due to COVID. But we encouraged all girls robotics teams to sign up for a morning of mentoring with other STEM women leaders across the state and region, female presidents of universities and colleges, the president of Toyota here in West Virginia, where they assemble vehicles, is a female. And the girls would meet these mentors, have lunch with them, and then compete in a VEX robotics competition. I thought we'd struggle to get 16 teams, and we sold the program out with a waiting list. We had well over 20 teams set up in a few weeks, and even more interest was generated. We started pairing groups up and stuff, and it was just unbelievable. Plus the number of extraordinary role models that contacted me saying they want to come, can they help out, was heartwarming. It actually, I was pretty skeptical at first about the project that we'd be able to do it. And in the end, it was fantastically popular. And sadly, it was scheduled for April the 11th. And so it was one of the casualties of COVID. But we're rescheduling it for the fall. It'll be even better. And instead of being a scrimmage for girls who want to be on robotics teams and the few number of officially registered all-girls teams, it's going to be an official tournament. It's going to be a bona fide event. So little parable about that. Young children are able to program robots. I had an argument with Lego because I ordered a classroom set of the WeDo platforms for the lab school my son went to, and the students there are 4 and 5 years old. And they said, no, this platform is for 7 and up. So, well, I respectfully disagree with you. I think the kids can do this. My son's in a unique situation. He's been playing with robots since he was 2, and driving them around and building them and stuff. But regardless, we train the staff, which were undergrad and graduate students, and they work with a small group. There's only 20 kids in each of those classrooms, and there's often, half as many instructors as there are students, because it's a laboratory experience. So the kids did it. They were able to use the iPads and program the WeDo robots and do certain activities. Not all of them, but they definitely understood it. By 5, my son was writing his own code and telling me the robot's going to do this, and here's how I'm going to do it. And I need a loop, and I'm going to make another line of code over here because I want a noise going on while this is happening, and I can't make them simultaneous. So I was like, So it definitely can be done younger, even younger than 7. And why I think ER is so rewarding as a tool, why students, when given a robotic platform, I mean, how many of you have used robots in the classroom? There's actually a hand-raising tool. I never look at it. Did no one raise their hand? No one's used it? Well, I will tell you, this is a common complaint from teachers who have borrowed our robotics kit. Todd, take the kit back, please. We're done with it. I can't get these kids out of my classroom. They come before school. They come on their lunch break. They come after school. They constantly want to keep working. They're not satisfied. They want to, make the robot do better. And they're constantly trying to perfect their coding of the robot that they built. I'm going to tell another parable that's not elementary. But about 7 or 8 years ago, I began working with the teachers of students who are incarcerated, which is a catch-all term. It's an accurate describe it. It's actually called court mandated. But we have 21 facilities in West Virginia, and they go all the way to elementary, which, like, I'm gonna like cry thinking about third graders locked up in jail. But we have mostly they're high school students who've done something bad, and they are in a variety of different secure facilities, but they're there. Some of them are actual, like supermax jails, and some of them are a lot more relaxed. But regardless, when I came and taught those students how to use robotics hands-on, at the end of more than one class, the instructor whose class we took over was visibly shaken, like I thought they were upset because they were like sobbing or crying a little bit, and I said, "Well, my gosh, what's wrong?" He said, "I don't think you understand what just happened. These students never work together. Like this kid over here who just worked with that kid the whole day, they fight all day. Like one of them is always thrown out of class. They never make it through one class, and they just spent the whole day working together." And I had, after a presentation at their annual conference, I had people walk out to me and say, that was phenomenal. One of the teachers who had borrowed our kits and worked with the kids presented, and I said, "What was phenomenal?" I said, "This video." So I said, "Carl, show me the video." And so there's 4 high school kids, and they had the Lego robot, and it was supposed to go through a maze, and it didn't work. So they tried again, second time, and it didn't work. All right, and they got it, and they programmed a third time. They got it together. They go, "Yay!" They was like very muted. Like I thought, okay, that was not a very exciting video. And the instructors told me that what I didn't understand was that these kids have failed at everything in their life, and they never try twice, let alone 3 times, to try and solve problems. So the platforms themselves are incredibly engaging, and they really get kids motivated. So how about computational thinking? Why should we teach this? Again, I apologize. I thought this was going to be like, you're supposed to pause and then you would answer the question. In short, we don't know what the careers of the future are going to be even. I mean, I think we've all heard that phrase before. We're training kids today for jobs that don't exist yet. And so how are they going to be successful? And the answer is not a specific skill, but often it's going to be a way of thinking, a way of solving problems is going to lead them to be successful. But I think it's safe to say that they're going to they need to know how to use computers to solve problems. Otherwise, they won't be able to build the next self-driving car or the next automated, plant for producing fill in the blank. I personally believe that the days of making pizza are over. Like there's certain jobs that, we're not going to need someone to do, to toss mix the dough and toss the pizza and put it in an oven and pull it out. Like seems like that can be automated pretty easily, and then delivered to us. So stay tuned, because one of our students is going to work for Papa John's someday, and we're going to have a little drone drop your pizza off on your front porch. So a skill students need to be successful is to turn complex problems into ones that we can understand. And that is one of the 4 elements of computational thinking. Of course, we really want kids to have confidence dealing with complex problems, persistence, tolerance. So many problems we're going to face in the future are open-ended, and that's not a unique thing, but the ability to work with others. I said earlier, it's one of the fundamental skills learned through programs like Lego League, where the kids solve this open-ended problem, and they have to communicate what they've learned to a panel of judges. It is very clear to me when, in any program I've been in, talking to kids who've gone through Lego League, because they have a comfort and an air and a confidence about them. They have more self-efficacy with their own ability to communicate than kids in almost any other program. And I've done WRO and many others. So uh, careers in the future are going to need lots of computer science majors. Whether it's writing or analyzing code like we do at the NASA facility, or whether it be dealing with cybersecurity issues, which are cropping up every single day in an increasing, exponential fashion here. So we need to, they need to have this mindset to be competitive, and cybersecurity is a big deal. It is probably one of the fastest growing computer science careers. And I will tell you that our NASA facility in Fairmont now is officially at the director level, I guess, at the headquarters level, maintaining essentially national security for the agency. We have our own cybersecurity team, and we are vetting and testing out software and hardware platforms that are going to be sent to space. So how do we teach this to students though? So this is a robotics platform that is designed explicitly from the ground up to teach computational thinking. So Lego recommends, and I've used this with kids, and I can tell you it's fascinating to watch. I don't know if you like to do little experiments with children, but you basically give them this train set, and most kids in elementary level have used the trains before. They put the little wooden tracks together and they drive little trains. They got the concept. They snap the train tracks together. And then you might want to turn the train on. This little guy, he has a light sensor underneath him. And if you give him a little push, he starts going, he starts driving. And then there's a series of different color blocks that drop inside the track. And the appropriate way to introduce this is to not introduce it, to just let them discover it. And they will figure out pretty quickly, that red stops the train, that yellow turns on the lights, that blue, it stops making noise because it's getting water. And so each of these color codes, I think green reverses direction, controls the performance of this small robot. It does have an app that you can use with it, but you don't use it to code the robot. You just use it to set up scenarios and problems. Like, can you get your train to do this? It has to, go through a track and go forward. So it's a way of engaging them, but it's not required whatsoever. And I believe this is perfectly appropriate to use in even pre-K education. Although again, Legos always has a kind of a higher threshold. So that's Coding Express is called. And I will say that Vex has recently come out, even since I first gave this presentation last summer, and then I gave it again in a few other places. But Vex came out with some really, really nice educational platforms for young learners. Maybe I'll pull those up in a minute. So here is the utilization of WeDo. It's a photo I took of a class that I was teaching for kids. And I didn't share with you my personal background, but I'm an earth science teacher. So I'm like earth and space science. And most of my education is in geology. And so when I saw this lesson right here, I was immediately excited to implement it, because what we're doing here is we're teaching seismology. And what the students do is if they follow the activity, it says, what's an earthquake and how do we measure the strength of earthquakes? And it goes through a bunch of science. So we're teaching, seismology, my topic, my baby. I love this stuff. And in fact, the Golden Gate Bridge behind us, that's kind of appropriate. We have earthquakes out there. It was the Verrazano Narrows Bridge in Tacoma, Washington, though, that shook itself to death one day. It was actually wind damage, but I guess that wasn't seismic damage, but regardless. So what we do is we talk about the science of earthquakes, and then we have them build a test platform. And then they write code to control it. And the code itself utilizes mathematical equations and expressions in it. Because it'll take a 0 value, add a 1 inside of a loop, then perform a motor motion of a certain speed, which is based off the sequence we're in the loop, then go back and repeat over again and add another. So it's adding and applying that number, and it displays the value, Richter scale 1, 2, 3, and then you put different buildings on, and you can have an open-ended test or experiment where you ask the students, hey, how high of a building can withstand a Richter scale 5 in our platform here? And, you know, let them explore and find that out. And what enhancements can you make to that building's structure to make it withstand even more? So this is my favorite activity. It's called Robust Structures in the We Do 2.0 platform. So I'm going to try this, and I hope this plays well for you. I'm not certain if the internet connection is rock solid, or I think sometimes there's just, it's a video of my computer, so it's displayed a little delayed and not as great for you. But anyway, my son Ian and I were visiting his grandfather in Philadelphia, and his cat wasn't there. He missed his cat. He said, "Dad, I want to make my own cat." Okay, so he did. He built the cat, and he wrote the code for the cat as well. So this is how he solved the problem. Oops.
Kitty. This is my cat here in Philadelphia. It's a little cat, but it's good enough. And this is the program. Let's see. Good. They're both on way. Then, it likes being petted in the head most. So, I put it in the head and its tail wags and it goes meow, meow, like a real cat.
So was it terrible? Does it play okay? So, okay. So
it's great.
Oh, good, Kristen, thank you. So this actually is in age sequence. He's getting older each time, and we're actually using different platforms. So this is a We Do platform. And he's a little bit older, he's got a cold. And you know, you tell kids when they have a cold, wash your hands, wash your hands. And so he goes, "Dad, if only I had one of those soap dispensers like they have in the bathrooms that would put the soap out automatically, it'd be so much, you know, better." I'm like, "I'll build the soap dispenser." So he actually has a Lego soap dispenser, has like little Lego pieces floating in it. So we converted that in using an NXT.
All right. On software, it's ready.
Can you show us how you wash your hands?
Yeah, sure.
He didn't cough in his elbow there, so bad dad. He doesn't know that though. And so this was interesting. I had to help him with the getting the motor set up right for pushing it down, but the rest of the structure he built all by himself. And he wrote the code himself as well. So he uses an ultrasonic sensor to sense his hand and stuff. So in the other one, it also used a motion sensor to sense when he moved his hand over, and the robot acted out the scenario. So it is technically a robot in NASA's definition. It interacts with its environment and acts upon it. And then I mentioned earlier in the session, we went away for vacation, and he took his EV3, and he wanted to create something to take care of the cat while we were gone.
Hi. This is our successful cat food dispenser. And today, I'm going to be showing you how to use it. So here is the lid. All right, so that's filled up. Perfect. There's food in now. Okay. All right. So see this? The motor's going to spin it. So when I press this button, you should be expecting food to come out, okay? Perfect. It works. See you next time on How to Train Your Cats. Bye.
So we had to enhance it because at first the cat wasn't smart enough to push the button. So we had to have it dispense automatically. And then the cat did figure out how to push the button, and we'd come back and all the food was out, spilled everywhere. Then we had to put some sort of limiter on it. It was really fascinating to evolve our robotic platform and solve our problem while the cat learned more. So I felt a little bit like Pavlov. So we're basically out of time, but I'd love to take any questions you have. This is just meant to be an introduction to these topics and hopefully have some discussions about them and to show some real world examples. So again, thank you for participating, and feel free to unmute yourself and ask away, or I'll look at that chat box if I missed anything. How do we get trained on the robust structures kit? And the answer is, I could show you what it looks like quickly if you want. It wouldn't be hard for me to do that. But when we do our training, our normal training on we do at the NASA facility or at your school in West Virginia, we almost always cover that module. At least I can say for a fact, I always cover that module. I guess I can't say I'm the only instructor. So if you bear with me for 1 second here. Desktop 1. Just to show you where it's at. Okay. Are you seeing the WeDo platform now?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So yeah, it jumps up with some little introductory stuff here. And they put you through some really basic activities first, which I don't like. So I'm gonna click on new project. And then the little book icon. And then there's Milo. There's 4 activities in Milo. And then we go down, these are called the guided projects. And each of these provide both the fundamental question or problem you're solving. It guides you, it gives you introductory videos, it gives you the build, it gives you sample coding, and asks you some more questions. So here's robust structures. So what factors make structures earthquake resistant? Explore the origin and nature of earthquakes. Create and program a device that will allow you to test building designs and document your evidence and present your findings. So it's a real problem-based learning scenario. And Max and Mia, the 2 characters, that are consistent throughout all the learning modules here, start to learn about earthquakes. So you get the idea. It does a really neat way of introducing and capturing the kids' imagination. It asks them essential questions: what causes earthquakes? How do scientists rate them? It has you then go through and build this platform right here. So you can do that building in house and more 3, I think. So, in any event, that was just a quick glimpse of what that looks like. Any other questions? Let me see. Okay.
Hi.
Yes, hi, Amy.
Oh, hi. This is just terrific. I don't know anything. I was trained with Gates and learned about Osbots. I don't know how many years ago. I'm an ESL teacher in New York City, and
Great.
we were able to, at least I got my students to code out of all my kindergarten teachers. I just started doing that, and the kids really like that. And I started looking into Scratch. We only have like a couple of weeks left. We have to follow whatever we're told. So I'm trying to incorporate it through my world. I don't know what's going to be next year, but I don't even know anything about robotics. So this is just very eye-opening. So what would I start with my kindergarten? Do the Lego train, the Coding Express?
Yeah, so I think that there are other companies that make other wonderful platforms, but of the ones that I was showcasing today, Coding Express is really designed for early elementary. I think Lego probably gives it a broader range of 5 to something, but I really think that 4-year-olds, even 3-year-olds could probably build that little train setup and explore this idea. And their mind will be trained in the process of doing that, oh, okay, so the red will make it stop, and the green will make it reverse, and the yellow makes it light stop. Okay,
I think that'll be good with kids and for the parents, maybe.
yeah. And really,
You know, I gotta,
you could buy one and have it as a station. You know, you don't need it for everyone. You need a class set per se. Just having one of them and having them explore that
yeah.
is one way of learning it.
yeah, when we go back, you know, and then I could just use whatever I have here visually. I would figure out that. Is there somebody that will help me go through this or even start this? I feel like I'm completely alone. I'm like,
No, I'll tell you what I'll do though, is I'm going
I
to
don't know how I found out about, I found out from the sustainability, because I'm a coordinator for the school. So Rosalba, she sent the workshops, and I finally just looked at them. I went to one yesterday that was great, and so I'm trying to jump on everything as fast as I can.
All right, give me 1 second here. I'm going to show you.
We've only been online for 3 months in New York, so we're very new.
Can you see a browser window now?
I just see the kit, what you were working on.
Yeah, the Lego Education Kit, right?
Yeah.
It's 3:30. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you. I'm not going away yet. Hold on. Someone's at my
You
door.
can send anything to me or to email. I can send you my information too. I'll post my email to you.
Okay, wait.
Oh my God.
I want to hit stop the recording.